Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the research, the articles, the latest thinking to bring you what really matters. And today, we're tackling something almost everyone experiences, but feels incredibly isolating when it's happening to you. Heartbreak. That just, gut-wrenching pain. It can feel like it's never going to end, right? Like happiness is just off the table.
It really can. It's like a total shock to your system.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though you know millions go through it, when it's your heart, it feels completely unique, like nobody else could possibly get it.
Exactly. That sense of being utterly alone in it.
Right.
So that's our mission today. We want to cut through that feeling. We're going to unpack why heartbreak feels so, devastatingly awful, looking at the science behind it. But more importantly, we want to give you a practical roadmap, actual steps you can take to navigate this and start building something new.
We'll look at the biology, the psychology,
Yeah.
some surprising facts about how long healing actually takes, which might not be what you think. And then, concrete strategies to help you heal and kind of redefine yourself moving forward.
Okay, so let's get into it. What makes heartbreak feel so physical, so emotionally shattering? It's clearly more than just being sad, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Our brains are wired for connection, deeply wired. And when a significant connection is lost, this really old part of our brain, the ancient part, kicks in. It's sometimes called the panic, grief, sadness system. We share it with other mammals. Think about like a baby animal crying when it's separated from its mother. That's the system.
Wow, so it sees the loss of a relationship almost like a survival threat.
Pretty much. It views these intimate bonds as essential for survival. So when they break, it triggers this massive alarm through your whole system.
And that explains the physical side, the literal ache people talk about.
Exactly. That system activation causes real painful withdrawal-like symptoms. A genuine ache in the chest, overwhelming sadness, going over things again and again in your head, and just losing enthusiasm for everything. It's crucial to understand this isn't you being weak or broken. It's a normal, ancient biological response. It's the price of deep connection, in a way.
That makes so much sense. That it lines up with this idea you hear sometimes about love being like an addiction. Is there actually science behind that comparison?
There absolutely is. The brain sees love as a powerful motivational state.
Yeah.
Think like hunger or thirst, but for connection. When you're in love, your brain gets flooded with these powerful chemicals. You've got oxytocin, that's the bonding hormone, helps cement attachment. Then dopamine, the reward chemical, creates that intense craving, almost addictive feeling. And norepinephrine, which sharpens focus, makes you kind of obsessive about your partner.
Okay.
So when that connection suddenly disappears, it's not just emotional emptiness, it's a chemical withdrawal. Your brain is literally trying to recalibrate without its daily dose of those chemicals. It has to rewire itself.
So your brain's basically protesting because the chemical landscape has changed so drastically.
Yeah.
And who tends to feel this pain most intensely? Is there a pattern?
Generally, yeah. The person who felt more invested in the relationship, or perhaps perceived themselves as more invested, often experiences more pain. And there's this really common thing where, after a breakup, we tend to put on rose-colored glasses. We focus only on the good times, idealize what could have been.
Oh, totally. Like relationship amnesia.
Exactly. Relationship amnesia. Your mind conveniently forgets the arguments, the annoyances, the stuff that wasn't working. And that makes it way harder to let go because you're mourning a fantasy, not the reality.
Right, you're mourning this perfect highlight reel that your brain's edited together, scrubbing out all the messy bits.
It might feel protective, but it hinders healing. And we all know about the stages of grief, denial, anger, bargaining, etc. But with heartbreak, it's not really a neat checklist, is it?
No, not at all. It feels much more like a storm you keep getting pulled back into. You think you're out, you're in acceptance, and then boom, a song comes on, or you see something and you're right back in anger or sadness.
Precisely. It's cyclical. Emotional closure rarely arrives on a tidy schedule. Which brings us to the big question everyone wants answered. Okay, fine, but how long does this actually last? How long will I feel like this?
Because that old saying, half the length of the relationship, that never felt quite right or very scientific.
Yeah, it's not really backed up. That saying, and a lot of common beliefs, are pretty far off from what recent research suggests. There was a study looking specifically at how long it takes for the emotional attachment to an ex to dissolve. And the findings were, quite surprising.
Okay, I'm braced. What did they find?
On average, it takes about 4.18 years. Let's call it just over 4 years for that emotional bond to be halfway dissolved.
Halfway, after 4 years. Wow, okay.
Yeah. And for the typical person, the research suggests the bond completely fades or gets down to baseline levels around the 8-year mark.
8 years, that's That's significant. But you said typical person, so does it vary a lot? Can it last even longer or shorter?
Oh, absolutely. Huge individual variation. And for some people, remnants of that bond, that feeling of connection, might never fully disappear. It might always be stronger than how they feel about a stranger, even decades later.
That's a bit sobering, isn't it? It really shows how deep these connections go.
It does. It underlines how fundamentally relationships can reshape our internal landscape.
So if the baseline is already potentially quite long, what are the things that make it drag out even longer for some people? What keeps that connection alive?
Well, the research points to a few key things. And probably the most important factor, predicting a continued emotional bond. Continued contact.
Ah, okay. Makes sense.
Every text, every call, even just checking their social media,
Yeah.
each interaction basically reopens what some call an energy tie. It makes it much harder for your brain to do that rewiring work we talked about. It's like hitting the reset button on the withdrawal process.
So every time you look at their Instagram, you're giving your brain that little hit it's trying to detox from, keeping the old pathway active.
That's a great way to put it, yes. Another factor is your attachment style. People with an anxious attachment style tend to hold on to those bonds for longer. Interestingly, with kids involved, while the initial bond might be stronger, it often fades more quickly than for ex-partners without children. Maybe the practicalities of co-parenting force a different kind of emotional recalibration.
That is interesting. What about how the breakup happened? Does it matter who ended it?
It definitely seems to. If the breakup wasn't mutual, especially if you were the one who was left the rejectee, it's often much more painful. And it tends to feel more rumination, that obsessive thinking, particularly if you don't really understand why it ended.
Yeah.
That lack of clarity, that lack of closure can keep your brain spinning, trying to figure out the what-ifs.
Right, they get stuck trying to solve an unsolvable puzzle. Unresolved issues just keep looping.
Exactly. And feeding into that loop is the idealizing, we mentioned the relationship amnesia, focusing only on the good stuff, forgetting the bad.
Got it. What else?
Identity fusion is a big one, especially in long relationships. Me and you slowly becomes we. Your identities merge. So when the relationship ends, it doesn't just feel like losing a partner. It feels like losing a part of yourself. And figuring out who am I now on my own takes significant time and effort.
That sounds almost like an existential crisis on top of the heartbreak.
It really can be. And breakups can also trigger older wounds, like pre-existing trauma, maybe around abandonment. For people prone to overthinking, that rumination can almost feel like a way to protect themselves from future hurt. Like, if I figure this out, it won't happen again. But it often just leads to more self-doubt.
Yeah, I remember reading something about core beliefs playing a role, like whether you believe in soulmates.
Yes, that's a fascinating finding. People with strong destiny beliefs, the idea that relationships are meant to be, that there's the one, they tend to struggle more. They're more likely to seek contact after the breakup, especially if they saw their ex as their soulmate, making it harder to let go. Whereas people with growth beliefs who see relationships as something you build through effort, communication, and that can evolve, they tend to accept breakups more readily and move on in a healthier way.
Wow. So your fundamental philosophy about love can actually shape your recovery path. That's powerful.
It really is.
Yeah.
And lastly, don't underestimate the social fallout. Losing mutual friends or having your ex woven into major life memories, holidays, graduations, family events, that makes the memories harder to escape. They act like anchors to the past.
Okay, so lots of factors making this complicated, but understanding them is the first step, right? It gives you some power back.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power here.
All right, so we've dug into the why it hurts so much, why it can take so long. But for anyone listening who's right in the thick of it, the burning question is, okay, what do I do? So this next part, our actionable roadmap, feels like the real turning point, moving from understanding to actually doing something.
Exactly. This is where you take control. We've broken it down into 3 phases. Phase 1 is all about acknowledging and feeling your emotions, and this is key with boundaries. First off, you have to allow yourself to grieve. Be kind to yourself. Let yourself cry, scream into a pillow, write angry journal entries, listen to those sad songs, validate your own feelings. Tell yourself it's okay, it's normal to feel this shattered.
So it's not about just passively letting grief happen, but actively recognizing it as necessary work, like your brain needs to do this processing.
Precisely. Think of it as essential maintenance for your brain's recovery system. Crying, journaling, these aren't just venting. They help process the chemical shock and validate the experience. It tells your brain, okay, this is real, let's deal with it. But critically, set some boundaries. Maybe give yourself an hour each day where you fully lean into the grief, feel it all. But when that hour is up, you intentionally shift your focus. Go for a walk, call a friend, watch something funny. This stops the grief from becoming all-consuming, prevents it from tipping into self-harm territory.
That's a really practical tip. Manage the waves instead of letting them drown you. And self-care must be huge here, given the physical side effects we discussed.
Oh, non-negotiable. Prioritize basic routines that usually make you feel even slightly better. Exercise, even just a walk. Try to eat decently. Get enough sleep if you can. That's often tough, I know. Hobbies you enjoy. These things kind of raise the floor on how bad you feel. They won't magically fix it, but they help manage the withdrawal and provide some stability. And crucially, lean on your support system. Talk to trusted friends, family. Consider therapy. Just having someone witness your pain without judgment can be incredibly healing. It validates your experience.
Yeah, being seen in your pain is so powerful. What about for people who find it hard to just sit with feelings? Any other tools?
Movement and mindfulness can be really helpful. Gentle things like yoga or even just stretching, meditation, focusing on your breath. These can help release the grief that gets stored in the body, physically calm your nervous system down, and build resilience. It's a way to actively soothe that physiological stress response.
Okay, good tools for phase 1. Let's talk phase 2. Create distance and reset. This sounds like where the act of breaking free happens.
It is. And the first step here is usually the hardest, but arguably the most critical. No contact. That means stopping the texts, the calls, the social media stalking. Mute them, unfollow them, whatever it takes. You need to break that attachment cycle to give your brain the space it needs to rewire. Aim for a solid 30 to 60 days of absolutely no contact. A real detox.
Cold turkey. Because every little check-in just reinforces those old pathways, right?
Exactly. It prevents the new ones from forming. Now, alongside no contact, another powerful technique is something called negative reappraisal.
Negative reappraisal sounds unpleasant.
It can feel a bit counterintuitive, but it works. Make a list, a literal list of all the negative things about your ex, about the relationship, the things that annoyed you, the reasons it didn't work. Keep that list handy. Read it when you feel yourself starting to idealize them or remember only the good times. It forces your brain to see the whole picture, the reality, not just the fantasy. Studies show it really helps with long-term healing, even if it feels kind of bad in the moment.
Okay, fighting relationship amnesia head on. I can see the logic. What else for this phase?
Write a letter to your ex. Pour everything out, the anger, the hurt, the confusion, what you learned, what didn't work, everything. And then this part's important. End it with some gratitude, if you can find any, for something positive you gained or learned. But, and this is crucial, do not send the letter.
Ah, okay. It's for you, for processing.
Exactly. It's about getting it out of your system and creating your own sense of closure without needing anything from them. And during this phase, be really honest with yourself about unhealthy coping mechanisms. Are you obsessively checking their socials? Are you replaying conversations endlessly? Recognize these as part of that withdrawal process. Try not to indulge them too much. If they feel totally consuming, that's a sign you might need professional help to break the pattern.
Starve those old pathways, like you said. Okay, brings us to phase 3. Rebuild yourself and your future. This feels like the really empowering part.
It absolutely is. This is where you actively shape what comes next. First big step. Do not internalize the breakup. Fight the urge to think I'm not good enough or there's something wrong with me. Try to see the problem as residing in the relationship dynamic or maybe just incompatibility, not as a fundamental flaw in you. Challenge those catastrophic thoughts, I'll be alone forever, I'll never find love again. They're usually not true.
That's a vital mental shift. From I failed to this didn't work. Then what?
Then you actively fill the space that's been created. Create new routines. Identify the voids. Maybe you always spent Sunday mornings together or went to a specific place. Proactively fill those gaps with new, healthy activities, maybe with friends or just for yourself. This sends a powerful signal to your brain. We're moving on. We're building new things. Reconnect with hobbies you dropped or try something totally new. Take a class, join a club. These intentional steps show yourself that you're healing and moving forward.
It's all about reclaiming your individual identity, isn't it? Redefining who you are outside of that we.
Precisely. And boost your confidence. Spend time with people who make you feel good about yourself. Do things that remind you of your strengths, what you're proud of. This helps counteract the hit to your self-worth that often comes with rejection. And, maybe further down the line, when the sharp pain is eased, try to reflect on any good you did gain from the relationship. Lessons learned, happy memories. This stops the breakup from poisoning the entire past experience. It allows you to integrate it as part of your story, not just a wound.
That's a healthy perspective.
Yeah.
What about closure, though, if you don't get it from your ex, which often happens?
You have to understand that external closure is often a myth. You might never get the answers or the apology you feel you deserve. So you need to find ways to create your own closure. That might be through journaling, therapy, the unsent letter we talked about, creating your own healthy narrative about why it ended and what you learned. It's an internal process.
So finding peace within yourself regardless of them.
Yes. And link back to those beliefs we discussed. If you realize you hold strong destiny beliefs, maybe explore adopting more of a growth mindset, understanding that good relationships take work, that compatibility can be built, and that you have agency in finding fulfilling connections that can be really empowering for the future.
And finally, dating again. When is it okay? How do you navigate that?
Tread carefully. And only when you feel genuinely ready, not just because you feel lonely or want a distraction. Rushing in to avoid your feelings usually backfires. Be honest with yourself, first and foremost, and then with anyone new you meet about where you're at emotionally. Rebound relationships can sometimes work out if there's real potential there, but authenticity is crucial. If you're just looking to numb the pain, be aware of that. But remember, your main job right now is healing you.
Right. Healing first. So wrapping this all up for our listener, what's the big takeaway?
The big takeaway is that while time definitely helps, it's not passive. Healing is an active process. Conscious, intentional action can significantly speed things up and make the journey less painful. You have way more power in this than you might feel right now. You have agency.
It's not just something that happens to you, it's something you navigate through. You're steering the ship.
Exactly.
And maybe a final thought to leave everyone with. As you navigate this, maybe ask yourself, what new parts of me, what undiscovered strengths or interests might be waiting to emerge now that I'm no longer defined by that specific we? Perhaps see this not just as an ending, but as an unexpected, maybe even profound opportunity for self-discovery and growth.